Hey everyone, it's X-Ray Vision here in Cuatro Cinco Studios in Southern Utah. And thank you again for joining me on another live Zoom workshop. This is a workshop for anyone that's brand new to crypto and trying to figure out what hex is and what we're doing here. And so you can join us live almost every Monday at 6 p.m. Where you can join us and ask questions and be involved. And then we obviously post the replay up on YouTube for people that couldn't make the live stream. So just some really quick items to go over. What is hex? Hex is a cryptocurrency. That means it's a money that lives on the internet. About 10 or 12 years ago, a coin called Bitcoin came out, and Bitcoin was basically an Excel spreadsheet or a ledger that lived on the internet. Most of the ledgers that control our money, like the US Federal Reserve note, those ledgers are controlled by banks and governments, and the cryptocurrencies ledger is controlled by algorithms and code and computers and a consensus, a social consensus where people all agree to either abide by the terms and they both agree that it has value, or or they don't and they don't participate. So like I said, about 11 or 12 years ago, Bitcoin came out, and it had some problems. It had a little infancy where it had a couple bugs, and it had to be protected by the people working on its code back then. So fast forward, the two things that you can do with Bitcoin are you can send it to another person, or you can lend your computer power to secure its network, and you can get rewarded in Bitcoin for helping secure the network, or the Excel spreadsheet that lives on the computer. So recently, a couple of years ago, a guy named Richard Hart founded another cryptocurrency that's very similar to Bitcoin, except for this cryptocurrency, instead of earning the rewards and the free coins by providing security to the computer network, you agree to lock these coins up, much like a CD at a bank or a time deposit in other countries. A lot of people are familiar with a bond, a savings bond. Maybe their grandparents or their parents bought them a savings bond and let it mature 5 or 10 years. And then they received the original amount plus interest. And so that's basically how Hex works. Hex works just like a bank CD, but again, it's not ran by a bank. It's not ran by a government. It is ran by computer code, basically. And so it's you interacting with the computer code. So, like I said, a lot of people in the last couple of years have made a large amount of money by locking up these Hex tokens or these Hex coins for a specific amount of time, and then they've received price appreciation. Let me start that over. They've received the price appreciation of the coin according to the market, because it goes up and down, just like stocks or bonds in a market. And then they've also received the interest on top of that based on how long they locked it up. So the longer you lock it up, the more interest it pays you. And like I said, it's you and the code. So that's a real brief overview of kind of what it is and why we're here and what we're talking about mainly. I would like to state a few things to keep in mind while working with cryptocurrency. And number one is that it's very volatile. It can go up and down 90% in a day. That's pretty normal in cryptocurrency. It is the risk is because one of the risks that you face is the fact that it is such a new technology relatively. I mean, 10 years doesn't sound that new, but in the scheme of things, 10 years is pretty new. So it's a new and exciting currency. So there are bugs and other problems that can come along and make this not the most secure or safest investment, but because there's all of these risks, there's also all of these rewards and opportunities. So I would recommend that if you need any of your money to spend on food and shelter and medical emergencies, or gas money for the next 2 years, I would recommend that you hang on to that money and use it for the things that you need to pay for in life. I would not recommend that you invest anything that you would need in the next 2 years into cryptocurrency. And then obviously, like I said, know that it is risky and it is very volatile. I would also say that this is all on your shoulders. This is your responsibility. If you make money, then great. The good news is you get to keep this money. If you lose money, the bad news is that you've lost money. So anyone that you listen to, myself included, on YouTube or Twitter, we're not responsible for your financial decisions. Those are you are responsible for your financial decisions. And the other thing that I get asked the most by people is what's in it for you? Like, what do I get out of it? And honestly, a couple of things that I get out of it. I'm trying to teach about 1 million new people about this currency and bring millions of dollars into hex, because I hold hex, and obviously I want the price to go up. So the more people investing, the better the price is going to do. Another selfish motive that I have for sharing this information and trying to grow this audience is that most of the people that we receive in hex, they're very, very intelligent. They're not only talented, but they're also very, very smart. And so for every new class, we'll say, of people that get into cryptocurrency, and more specifically the hex community, we get another guy that's really good at streaming. We get another guy that's really good at search engine optimization. So they'll help us move up the ranks in Google searches. We'll find someone perhaps that's really good at charts and graphs and is willing to share that information with the community. And we have a large group of people that are really good at people and networking. As we speak right now, there's a tour of these people that are going from city to city, hosting free workshops, getting the word out there and spreading this information. And if all these people were not part of the hex community, then we wouldn't have all of this amazing growth that we've been experiencing the last 2 years. So my selfish motive is, number one, I'd love the price to go up. I would love a lot of people to get into hex and see how it works and earn interest. And then I would also like to grow the community and bring in more smart, talented people to help grow this and help its progress. So those are honestly what I really would like to get out of this. Other than that, the altruistic side of things is that I was blessed to have the ability to be financially independent this last year. And I believe that the more people that become financially independent and can do what they're good at and do what they love, live their passion, so to speak, I think that would make the world a better place. I really do. So I would like more people to enjoy some of the freedoms and blessings that I've enjoyed financially. And so that's why I'm here. With those things said, this is probably what I should have started with, actually. When you go on to set this whole system up, when you go to buy and stake hex, part of this process is setting up a Metamask wallet. And I have a YouTube video that kind of shows you step by step where to click and where to write down your information. Because you are your own bank and because you are responsible for your money, there's no customer service number to call if you lose your backup phrases and if you lose your passwords. So when you set this up, even if you set it up with a small amount of money, let's say $50 to $1,000, in the future, this could be worth millions and millions of dollars, like it has with Bitcoin. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the stories of people that have lost their hard drive or their password or their laptop that had thousands of Bitcoin back on it in the day. And now they're really kicking themselves and desperately trying to find this information or these pieces of hardware. And you really need to take that kind of a approach mentally to this process. Like, treat it as though it is $10 million and write down this information by hand. Don't take pictures with your phone. Don't take screenshots with your laptop. Don't email them to a bunch of people or text them to people, because those are places that, you know, the security is not great on your phone. The security is not really awesome on your laptop or your computer. And so if you have a digital copy of this special and important information stored on there, then in the future, it's going to be well worth criminals' time to try and get to that information. So write down your passwords and your backup phrase or your seed words in duplicate more than once, and keep them in more than one safe location. I really can't emphasize this enough. Out of the people that I've helped get started in this, I've had quite a few people lose their information to where, you know, that was it. Their money's gone, unfortunately. So take that very seriously, please, please. So with all that stuff out of the way, we are here. First of all, let me ask, is there anyone that's brand new and based on the stuff that I've gone over so far, you have any questions about blockchain, Bitcoin, hex, anything like that? Let me check. Let me open a chat screen here to the side as well. So you can also, if you don't want to be seen or if you don't want to unmute your mic, you're always welcome to type something in the chat, and then I'll read the questions and messages there as well. So, all right, well, let's continue on. Like I said, this all lives on the internet. It's all digital. And so the steps to setting up hex, locking it up, gaining interest are like this. The first thing you do is you set up an account at an exchange. There are a lot of exchanges like Coinbase. There's also an exchange called dharma.io, DHARMA.io. That one is on your phone. Another exchange that I've seen people use is called crypto.com. And if you go back to my video that walks you step by step through setting up a Metamask wallet, then you'll see those links in the description of that video as well. But basically, you're going to go to an exchange, which is a bank for all intents and purposes. And basically, this bank will convert your US dollars, if you live in the US, into cryptocurrency or into these tokens or coins that live on the internet. Just like if you were to fly down to Mexico on a vacation, you would have to convert your US dollars into pesos if you wanted to exchange in the local currency. So think about it like that. Instead of going to another physical location, you're going to a digital location. So you're going to convert your dollars from the physical world into money on the digital world. So that's the first step. The second step is setting up that Metamask wallet. And that Metamask wallet's really important for a couple of reasons. Number one, the money that you have inside of that Metamask wallet for most purposes and most coins is your very own money, meaning no one can take it from you. No one can freeze it or, tell you can or can't move it here or there. That's very much your own money, and it belongs to you. As long as you keep your coins on the exchange that I just talked about, technically the exchange owns those coins and it can control what you do with those coins. But once you move those coins over to MetaMask, like I said, you take ownership of those coins, which is really awesome. The other important thing about moving your money over to MetaMask is that MetaMask connects to the web pages that will allow you to trade those coins for other coins and to lock up those coins and earn money. and earn interest. So once you get the coins into the MetaMask, once you get the money moved into the MetaMask, at that point, you can trade one coin for another. In this case, we're trading most of what we can for the coin called HEX, H-E-X. And then we're locking that with a smart contract. So the computer writes up a contract between you and the network that says, I promise to lock up this amount of money for this time. And those are both, decided by you. You can decide to lock up a little or a lot. You can decide to lock it up for a day, and you can lock it up for as long as over 15 years. And so you and the computer decide how long you're going to lock it up for, and it will issue you shares, just like the shares in a company. So if you were to own a bunch of Apple shares and they paid a dividend, then the dividend would be split up among the people who own the shares that give them the rights to that dividend. And in HEX, you get these shares that entitle you a right to the interest that is printed every day. In fact, the entire supply of HEX grows by 3.69% a year. And so that 3.69% is divvied up amongst all of the shares. So the more shares that you have, the more interest you're going to receive. So let's see, did I lose anyone yet?
No, but I would like to interject if I may.
Yes.
So I realize that you are not giving anyone financial advice here, that we're just discussing it. But I'm always curious about, like in terms of trying to onboard, people who don't know any of this. It's like, yeah, so how does it turn into cash, and I'm pretty sure, like, if my understanding is if it's on Gemini or one of those things that you described as a bank, that I can switch my HEX or whatever currency into US dollars, and they have my bank account information there, correct?
That's correct. So let's say, for an instance, you went through the entire process that I described, and you've locked up $100 for 1 year. At the end of that year, it's going to mint or reprint your original tokens plus your interest, and that interest in those coins will be delivered back into your MetaMask wallet. At that point, you would need to exchange it into a coin that one of those, like Gemini or Coinbase or crypto.com, you could change it into one of the coins that they receive. You can move it back into an exchange, sell it to them, and then they would deposit the US dollars back into your account.
And so that's where we've been getting into trouble recently, because the fees of switching it back into ETH or whatever, that has been so bringing everything to a standstill, of making it not profitable to do anything.
Yeah.
Up with HEX, right?
Yeah, to put it bluntly, the fees on Ethereum have been disgusting.
Yeah.
They've made it to where a lot of projects and a lot of things people are trying to use that network for, it's just not feasible. I know a lot of people that have a contract or a stake, as they call it. The locked HEX is called a stake. They have stakes for $200 to $500, but the fee to get them out is $600 or $700. So they're losing money retrieving after doing everything they were supposed to, right? And so that's a really good segue into the Pulse chain network that we're all dying for. Really, I just dying for, because 2 years ago, the fees on the Ethereum network to move coins back and forth and to lock them up and unlock them was pennies. I remember when it got over like 25 cents, I was really upset that it was 25 cents to do these things on their network, on the Ethereum network. And so as things have gotten worse over this last year, especially, Richard Hart, the founder of HEX, saw the need to find a way to reduce the fees back to what they once were and make things fast and affordable again. And so they're working right now on forking the Ethereum network, which means that they're basically going to split the network into kind of like a road and an exit with another road. They're going to split the chains and the networks, and they're going to record our information on another network that they're calling the Pulse chain network. And we really, really were hoping that the Pulse Chain Network was going to launch before Halloween. And, here we are after Turkey Day, just struggling and suffering with those fees. And it's really difficult because back in the day, I would help people get started for 20 to 50 bucks. A lot of people are willing to risk 20 or $50 and just see this thing out and kind of get a feel for it. But lately, when people show up, unless they have about $1,000 and they're willing to lose about 300 of that to the fees, it just, like I said, it just doesn't work walking them through it right now because of those
Is the
fees.
Staker app helping with that in the meantime?
The Staker app has a lot of functionalities, and the Staker app tries to optimize the lowest fees and take advantage of the best time to lock and unlock the contracts. So it's working on it. But the problem right now is that the Staker fee is still running, all the contracts are still on the Ethereum network. So even if the Staker app is trying to, make everything efficient, it's still on top of that other network. And so I'm assuming that the Staker app is going to be one of the first wallets and things that you can use to move your hex around that's going to implement the Pulse Chain network, because they were, in hex way back in the day. In fact, I believe they were helping write some of the code and offer suggestions on how to set up the code before it even launched in hex. So the good news is that help is coming. The bad news is that it's been delayed. So the rescue party is not here yet, and we are all crossing our fingers and toes and eyes waiting for Pulse Chain to save us. The good news about this opportunity and about this moment is that all of the coins that you have and all the contracts that you have on the Ethereum network are going to be copied over, and you're going to be given a duplicate on the Pulse Chain network. So if you have a hex coin, or if you have locked hex coin on Ethereum, you're going to receive a copy of that on the Pulse Chain network. And so that's one of the things that kind of makes eating these fees more palatable and easier to stomach, is because we know that if you have a long time horizon, let's say 5 years is what I ask most people to kind of wrap their head around, then in 5 years, both of those copies will probably be worth enough to make it worth all the fees and actually come out ahead quite a bit financially. So that's the point. We're in the eye of the storm, so to speak. We're waiting for the other end of the hurricane to come out and change everything for the better. But
maybe Santa will help us out.
Maybe Santa. Maybe Richard Hart does have facial hair, and he is quite jolly. So, maybe there's something to that. So that's where we're at right now. We're all waiting for this. There was a pre-sale of the Pulse coin that a lot of people were able to go into. It was called the sacrifice phase, because they wanted you to really let go of this money and think of it more of as a sacrifice than as an investment. Part of that has to do with what the SEC considers a security, but it was also a political statement where a lot of the people in cryptocurrency believe that your money is a right. It's a freedom of speech. The way that you spend your money and who you give your money to is a form of expression, and we believe that that's all contained in freedom, right? And so he said, if you think that these chains should allow freedom on their networks, and you should be able to do business with who you choose to do business with, then make a statement, make a political statement. And a lot of people, put a lot of money into that pre-sale or that sacrifice, making that statement that they did believe in freedom and that they did want, a network that worked much better than the one beforehand, or the one that we're on currently.
I noticed a lot of people in the beginning don't understand the difference between handing out their seed phrase to, like one of these websites who manage it for them, which is going to make them ineligible, which brings up the question, how do we know when the snapshot takes place?
So in this case, the snapshot of what coins are going to be copied
Mhm.
and the launch of the new network are going to take place at the same time. So when Pulse Chain Network goes live at that specific block or that spreadsheet, that says where everything is in the network, at that moment, it's going to be copied over and go live on a separate network. So that'll take place at the same time. We will have a little bit of warning because, as I was saying, we had a pre-sale or a sacrifice phase for the Pulse coin. So just like we pay Ethereum on the Ethereum network to move coins and lock them and unlock them, we're going to pay Pulse on the Pulse network in our fees. It'll just be much, much cheaper than Ethereum. In fact, right now on the test net where people have been practicing sending fake coins back and forth to try it out, the fee is basically free. It's like it's a fraction of a penny right now to move stuff around, which makes us very, very excited. But they're also going to have an exchange. So I was talking about when you have your coins in MetaMask, you can connect MetaMask to a site that I use called Uniswap. And Uniswap is where I can trade Ethereum coins for hex coins. I can trade hex coins for US dollar coins. There's thousands of coins that you can trade back and forth. And we're going to need an exchange or a swap on this new network, on the Pulse Chain network. And so that exchange is going to have its own token or its own coin as well. And so they're going to have a pre-sale or a sacrifice phase for the exchange token. And Richard Hart has said that will probably take place 3 or 4 weeks before the launch. So the promises that we're living on right now that are keeping us, giving us hope are, he said that he would do the sacrifice or the pre-sale before the end of the year, which is, there's like 2 weeks left in the year. So we're really hoping that this pre-sale goes live in the next couple of weeks. And following that, sometime in the month of January, if we're really lucky, the new network will launch and we'll get a copy of all those coins on the new network. And at that point, we can help people get involved at 20 to 50 bucks again, like we used to.
Right. I have a question.
Yes.
The sacrifice, what will you be sacrificing? Hex or ETH or any ERC20 or cash or what?
Well, in the last sacrifice phase or the last pre-sale, they accepted Bitcoin, stable coins, Ethereum, a whole bunch of stuff. They haven't mentioned all of the coins that they're going to accept in this next pre-sale yet, but they have mentioned mostly the basic, like some of the most popular 5 coins on Ethereum. So they're saying we'll take Ethereum, we'll take US dollar coin, we'll take Hex, obviously, and then a few other coins that they're but the official list hasn't been released yet.
So I know some of those formats, they put a hold on your money for like 5 days or so before you can do anything with it. Like if you switch it over.
Yeah, so in conjunction with doing this live Zoom call on Mondays, I try to make it to the local library on Thursdays. So I invite people in my local area to bring their laptops and their tablets and walk them through setting up their exchanges, setting up their MetaMask wallet, things like that, right?
That's great.
Well, that's something that we were running into, is what you were just speaking about. They'll oh, it's getting a little windy in here. They'll open up a Coinbase account and then they'll go to move their coins off of try to move their coins off of, say, Coinbase. And the first time that they go to move their coins off of Coinbase does usually put a hold on there that's 3 to 8 business days. So we'll sit there and get everything set up, and then we're like, I guess I'll see you next week. So, next week, usually they come in and then Coinbase will allow them to move it. Dharma.io allows you to buy hex coins directly, but they do hold those coins for 7 days. before they let you move those to your MetaMask wallet.
So do you think there's any benefit in sacrificing hex over the others, like because of Dharma.io maybe?
Well, one of the advantages that we see in sacrificing hex is that it's likely that if you send US dollars to these people running these projects, that they're going to sell those US dollars on the market to pay for, you know, coders, developing, marketing, testing, auditing, all the expenses that go into running something like this, something complicated on the internet. But chances are they're not going to sell hex. So the hex that people sacrifice to the Pulse chain pre-sale hasn't been sold. It's almost like it's locked up, almost like keeping that supply off the market. And so in that way, there's an advantage to possibly helping keep the price of hex up, right? Other than that, if you already have hex and you want to sacrifice it, it could save you an exchange fee from exchanging it into another coin first. So those are the two advantages that I see. Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet. You bet.
You know, I have this vision of, because I would love to see more women get involved with this. I mean, women are particularly vulnerable in terms of financial independence, and in targeting them in my minimal efforts, I get this, you know, no, people get screwed over too much. I'm not even interested. I'm not even open to it. And so what I was visualizing would be really helpful, just like the test net. If there was a place where people could go and just walk through the steps and practice, you know, because it's so scary to put your numbers in on the MetaMask, and then there's that delay, and oh my God, did I blow it? Did it happen?
Yeah. Did I just lose all my money?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So a
that
way
is
to
very
walk
scary.
through that so that people could learn and go, oh yeah, that's the way it works. Okay, now I feel okay about doing it with my own crypto.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. In fact, I don't know of any test exchanges to send the money over there, but right now you can use, for instance, some test nets in MetaMask, and those test nets will let you send money back and forth, fake money.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's actually a Pulse faucet that will give you a free pulse every 24 hours or something like that. And right now people are trying to figure out how to lock up their Pulse coin to make interest the same way that we lock up the Hex coin to make interest. So that is what I would definitely recommend. And I don't know if I even have it here. Let me see if I can pull it up on my computer here. But there's a link to a 10-minute YouTube tutorial from a buddy of mine named David Feeder. You can look him up on YouTube as well. And it's David, the common spelling, and then Feder. And he's really smart when it comes to technology and IT stuff. And he did a tutorial of how to set up your MetaMask, how to set up a fake one, and practice on them right now. So I'm going to see. I know that I retweeted that one. I retweeted his link recently. So let me see if I can find it here and put it in at least chat, and then I'll try to remember
Promoting it.
And then we did a stream yesterday as well where we were trying to answer these more technical questions. But let me see if I can find the one that's just his. There it is. Great tutorial, testnet, validators, save, spec, blah, 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 blah. Got to figure out how to copy this link for you guys and then put it into our chat. And then I'll try and remember to add this to the notes on YouTube when I upload that. Here, I'm just going to click on it and see if I can share it right here. There we go. Let me pull it up. Okay, so this is the link in chat that I just shared. That's the YouTube link to that 10-minute video where he says, click here, click there. This is how you play around on the test net. So check that one out. You can also check out our stream of me and him and another guy named Rags to Riches, where we're trying to break down how these technologies work to people that are new. And so definitely check out that Rags to Riches, David Feeder, and my channel for some of the newer stuff. You can go back and watch these other Zoom workshops, or at least the ones I remember to record. Right. So
Thank you so much.
you bet. You bet. Matt, I know that Xander's back there with a question that only the young folk would think of. Fire a question at us, Xander.
In the meantime, let me throw something in. First
Okay,
off, let me say thanks for doing this.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your experience and expertise on this one. I see the price of HEX has been very strong for the last couple of days. In fact, last time I looked, it was about an hour ago, it was up 12%. Still very affordable, but looking very strong. Would you say that is because the Ethereum gas fees are lower, or the announcement of testnet v2 going live?
I think that it's two things that I think it is Pulse Chain, testnet going live, getting closer, getting a better network to run on. I think that's part of it. But I also think that there's only so far that the price can go down, you know? So in my opinion, the whales, or the guys with a ton of coins, have been trying to scare people out of the market with these big sell orders. They're like, oh, I'm selling $1 million of the coin, and the price crashes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I believe, on the other hand, they've got another account, because I mean, this is all pseudo anonymous, right? So they got another account somewhere else just gobbling up this stuff. I mean, some of these people that are involved in crypto are millionaires and billionaires. They eat, someone on YouTube was saying, these people eat $500 lunches regularly, like $500, $1,000. It's not a lot of money to them. And so to think that they are afraid of the price crashing and losing all their money, it's ridiculous. But they can convince a lot of smaller folks that need this money to cash out if they see the price going down. So like I said, they're basically making these little guys flinch and sell their position out because they're afraid that it'll go down really, really far. And on the other hand, they're probably buying it up with the same address or a different address, you know? And so I think that they're pushing it down, but there's only so far before another whale is going to look at that price and go, I'm going to load up on a few million coins right now. I'm going to drop, and they come in regularly and spend $300,000 on these purchase orders, buying up the bottoms, you know.
Well,
so
also some large stakes just ended.
Oh, for sure, for sure. The month of November and December, there's a ton of stakes that people put right after an event called Big Payday, you know. So there was this day at the end of the main issuance, there was a day called Big Payday where all the extra HEX that was going to be issued was given out to people that were locked up. And on that day, 99% of the HEX got locked up that day to grab that extra bonus. And so a lot of people were locked up right behind it, either this year or last year. And so if you look on the graph of where a lot of the HEX is becoming unlocked, there's always a big spike right there around November, December. So yeah, thank you very much for adding that, Sandra. It's true. There's a lot of HEX hitting the market, and some of these people have been good little boys and girls. You know, they bought HEX at a fraction of a penny, and they practiced delayed gratification, and they were very patient, and they saw these investments of $50 go to $10,000, and now
taking.
Yeah, they definitely want to take profit, and I don't think there's anything wrong with taking profit at all. I mean, that's the whole point of investing, right? Is to improve your life financially. So yeah, that is another thing that's pushing the price down, Sandra. But like I said, at some point that price gets too tempting and too delicious for these big guys with a ton of money and a ton of Ethereum and other coins to swoop in on the exchanges and gobble up a bunch, because they know that the copy's coming just like we do. And, you know, if people don't follow the advice and they're investing their rent money and their food money, and, you know, I promised I'd buy my wife another couch money, they can't wait any longer. They were hoping to, you know, catch that flip, that little blip of the free coins, the extra coins, and things like this. Now, I will say, when it comes to price, when they announce the sacrifice phase or the pre-sell for these swap tokens, I believe we're going to see a spike, just like we saw a spike during the pre-sell of the swap of the pulse chain coins. So the first few days of the sacrifice phase or the pre-sell for the pulse chain coins, the price went from 8 cents to 22 cents. And we were all just giggling in ecstasy because we couldn't believe how fun that was. Now it comes back down to 13 and we all just want to kick tires and throw rocks, which is, you know, it's perspective, right? You know, you get used to this really high, all this money in your head that you haven't realized yet, but it feels like it's yours. And then you see it come down, and it's rough emotionally for us human beings.
And that's
So
what we need to understand is intrinsic in this game. It's going to keep doing that.
yeah, it's always going to be popping up high and crashing down low, and those emotions and those endorphins in your head are going to be pumping fear and greed, fear and greed, fear and greed. So
whose stake ended recently, and she's like, I'm, you know, it's gone. It's going to cost me too much in gas fees. But the penalty on not cashing in on it, she said, I think if I wait a little bit, it's going to be okay.
right. And that's kind of where I've been seeing people let it bleed, is what it's called. You get a 2-week grace period once your stake ends, and then 1% of that amount gets redistributed every week to the people that still have their shares, their active shares, you know. So the people that are locked up in contracts, they get paid that 1% a week for 100 weeks, which is basically 2 years. So if you're going to lose 10 or 20% of your coins because you should have unlocked them and the due date's passed, if we get a nice little spike at the end of the month, it might make that a little less painful, or it might make it worth, or you might be able to pay those fees in that amount of money, pulling it out, you know. Or if you wait long enough, you're going to get a copy of them on the pulse chain, and maybe those coins will be worth more than what you were missing out on now. You know, this is actually very complicated for a beginner stream.
Would you say that accounts for why daily T-share payouts have been over 6 lately?
Yeah, another thing that's happened recently is there's these really big stakes that were bleeding. Like I said, they bleed 1% a week for 100 weeks, but we don't actually get that payout until they're done. So it's like it's like sets up and then it boom distributes. And so what a lot of people have been doing is paying the $6,000 or $7,000 and doing what's called good accounting. And what a good accounting does is it pauses it. It doesn't remint all of your coins, but basically it says, okay, we're ending the contract, but we're basically pausing it and we're not reprinting all of our principal and interest yet. I can do that at a later date. And what a lot of people use good accounting for is taxes. You know, they might say, I don't want to take a huge amount of capital gains this year. So they good account it, which means, okay, we're keeping track of what we made, but we're not taking possession of it till the next fiscal year. And that's really where good accounting came from, or when they added it to the contract. And so these people have gone in and they've good accounted these people that were bleeding these massive stakes. And they did that not because we all got paid that bonus, but when they did that, it removed all that person's share, that person's shares from the pool. So what it's doing is it's making you like you've got more vested interest in the company, right? You got a bigger portion of the shares, so you get more interest. The guy's name is actually John Wick on Twitter, that we've all been tracking down, that's been like just hooking us up by stopping that bleeding. So, and until someone mints and prints all those coins, they're effectively burnt. I mean, they're not on the market. They're not part of the supply. So they're holding up the price of HEX and helping us get higher interest. So, I mean, not every hero wears cape.
So they might all cash in after the first of the year.
Right. And I believe some of these were tied to the OA and behavior, or, associated with the OA, to where we didn't know if the OA this was like a slow gift that they were trying to give everyone, or, what the play was, or if the OA was just kind of hanging on them, waiting for the split itself. Right. And for those of you that don't know, the OA stands for origin address, which when they wrote the code for HEX, they wrote an origin address that got the lion's share of a lot of the bonuses and copies of these coins. And so we have like this benevolent dictator that has a ton of HEX that has so far acted in our best interest as far as protecting the price, protecting the interest rates, and, just keeping a lot of the supply off the market and pushing the price up, which is great. So what about you, Ryan? Do you got anything tonight, Ryan?
Yeah, I do have one thing. Where you were talking about how like a 2-year stake, when it comes due and doesn't have a bunch of money in it, what do you do with it if the fees are higher than what you have in it?
That's a good question. So what I've suggested people try doing in that situation is take full advantage of the 2-week grace period, because it used to be that on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, early in the morning, a lot of these giant mining farms in Asia and other places would do their maintenance, and they would restart and do all their take all their stuff offline. And you would think that this would make the price go up, but it actually makes the price go down, because it takes a lot of that traffic and a lot of that work off the network. So basically, early in the morning, Saturdays and Sundays, we would stay up and we would get these cheap prices. So you can look for a cheap price and for an opportunity to unlock your stake at a lower fee. Or, like I said, you could basically consider it a gift to the community and watch it bleed to your other stakes and to the community. Or you can wait for Pulse Chain to save us, right? So let's say it takes a year. Let's say you lose 50% of your stake, but in the next year we get Pulse Chain, and the coins on Pulse Chain are worth $1. Now you have half as many coins at 50 cents a piece on one chain, and whatever they're worth on the Ethereum chain. And so that might, make it worth going and getting the money out at that point. And like I said, that's a whole year and down the road that you'd be waiting in that scenario.
Got to take into consideration the duplication of them.
Yeah. So a lot of people are willing to put up with losing these percents of their stuff for the duplication and the hope that things will be better on the Pulse Chain.
So then you'll just bite the bullet, cash it out, and switch it over to the other side that's got less fees and try and start there.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people that have less money to invest, like these are regular working class people that are working with $50 to their name to a few $1,000s to their name. I think that most of those people will be attracted to the Pulse Chain network because they're not going to get eaten alive in fees. And I think that the big boys that can afford the fees are going to go gobble up all of the HEX and all the T shares on Ethereum and keep playing that game. So out the gate, a lot of people, myself included, are expecting the price of the HEX on the Pulse Chain network to go up faster and receive a lot more money invested there. And then probably turning the Ethereum side over to the whales or the bigger players, you know. And so the ETH side, the Ethereum hex may drop originally as people are abandoning the expensive network for the cheaper network. So a lot of people are planning accordingly for that. And there's also bridges that are coming up. So a bridge is a way to basically move your coins from one network to another. And so I think that a lot of people that have the ability to bridge or move their coins to the cheaper network are going to out of necessity. And then on top of that, oh, there's another really awesome idea that was bouncing around in my head. I can't even remember what it was, but it was good. Trust me, it was a good point. It'll probably pop up here in a second as we keep talking. But yeah, so those bridging techniques. One, what else was the other thing? I don't know. Let's just keep taking questions and then we'll see if I remember it.
Yeah, so what is the difference between Pulse token and Pulse swap token?
So the difference between the Pulse token and the Pulse swap token is that the Pulse token is going to be the native token on that network.
Mhm.
And the swap token is going to be a token that's used in conjunction to a layer 2 exchange that's going to be on the second layer doing the exchanges on top of it. So right now we have Ethereum token for the Ethereum network, and we have the Uni token for Uniswap. And I think that Pancake Swap, which is a copy of Uniswap, has their own coin as well, where like they'll give you a discount on your fees if you use their own token. And then also they will pay you. So if you go and you provide liquidity or you dump a bunch of coins on the exchange for the exchange to use, they pay you a fee. They cut you in on some of the fees. So they might pay you in that token. So let's say that you take $1,000 of one coin and $1,000 of another, or your clones, you know, your e-hex and your p-hex. Let's say you throw those onto the exchange, and then they'll pay you, you know, a fee for letting them providing that liquidity and locking your coins up for their use. And so they might pay you in that swap token.
Are you talking about liquidity?
Now, I was saying that the difference between the Pulse token and the Pulse swap token are the way that they're used and where they exist in the chain. So like I said, if you provide liquidity to these exchanges so that people can trade coins back and forth, they're going to cut you in on their fees. So they're going to give you some of the fees that people are paying on these exchanges in order to facilitate these trades. And so chances are they will pay you in their own token or their own coin. So the Pulse Swap pre-sale that's coming up, a lot of people are buying it because they want to use it on that exchange. And they believe that the price of that coin is also going to go up as well, which is, you know, the whole point of the pre-sale is like, buy it while it's cheap, buy it while it's new and fresh before people find out about it and it starts going up in value.
So by providing liquidity, you mean letting them hold on to the token?
Yeah. So the same way that like, let's say I take a whole bunch of hex and I go to lock it or stake it, then I'm basically getting rid of those coins. Those coins are being destroyed in this sense. And in return, you're getting a contract that says at a future date, I'm entitled to this many coins based on the interest and the principal. So when you provide liquidity, like I've provided liquidity to Uniswap before, where I took a certain amount of dollar coins and a certain amount of another coin, and they had to be equal. And I locked them, and in return, they gave me a token that was worth like 5.6 something tokens, right? Basically, it was saying my share in that whole network was 5.2 whatever tokens worth. And so when I went to get my money back off the exchange, I used that contract, you know, to get my money back, plus the fees or interest that I may have earned by providing that service. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You bet. You bet. I still have that idea bouncing around my head. I can't, it's really bugging me that I can't spit it out. But it had to do with the bleeding stakes. It had to do with, you know, I don't know. We'll see. I'll think about it tonight while I'm brushing my teeth. That's when it'll come to me.
It always comes back. You just got to not worry about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You mentioned bridges before, because, well, let's be honest, if Ethereum fees stay the way they are, isn't going to be a whole lot of people wanting to do small movements of hex on the Ethereum network, or essentially e-hex. But if you can move that over to the Pulse network and not have to pay the fees on it, is that essentially like a wrapped Bitcoin type of thing, or will it just be hex and e-hex on the Pulse network, trading for whatever its price happens to be?
I think it'll be like a wrapped token. So right now we have wrapped Bitcoin on the Ethereum network, which
Yes.
means supposedly if they keep their word, or if the smart contract works the way it's supposed to, they lock up a certain amount of Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network, and then they mint a wrapped or a replica of that Bitcoin on the Ethereum network, right?
Yes.
And so as far as that's the best that I can come to as far as understanding bridging right now. I'm sure we'll learn a lot more about it as things progress and this technology improves. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking
Is that
it'll be
third
something
party, or
like
is that
that.
will that be a Richard Hart project?
I'm not sure. I'm sure that I always look for anyone who has Richard Hart's blessing or founding, right?
Sure.
Because Richard Hart has said he'd like to see a lot of things come about in the near future. One of them being the exchange, obviously. And then, excuse me, another one would be an exchange from fiat to crypto. So
Oh,
a
like
better
better on-ramp.
exchange that him or a friend of his owns, where they're going to let you put in your debit or credit card and buy and sell hex directly. Because I mean, that would knock so much friction out of the way and make it so much easier for people to onboard, especially if you are buying it and sticking it straight into a staker wallet or something as good as Metamask. The other thing that he said he'd like to see is a better version of Metamask, because Metamask is not user friendly at all, especially when you have more than one account with them. They have a hard time like summarizing where all your coins are, the value of all your coins, and keeping track of different things. It's still nerd software, right? So he said he'd like to see a better one of those. And then he'd also said that he'd really like to see something like a trust fund, so like a Grayscale come in. And I mean, a lot of people want to buy Bitcoin, but they don't want to go through the process of buying Bitcoin. So they hand their money over to someone like Grayscale. And it's just like people who want to own gold and silver, but they don't want to take possession of physical gold and silver and lock it in a safe in their house, protect it, right? There's a lot of people that are interested in Bitcoin or crypto, and then when they hear about like what I'm talking about, is like, well, you set up your special keys, and if you ever lose them, you're in trouble. They don't want that. And so what they'd rather do is turn their 401k and their retirement money over to a firm that says, hey, we got you. Your account is going to follow the value of Bitcoin or crypto or hex. And really, there's nothing that can touch the APY of hex right now in the world. There just isn't. And so if they can, show these returns of 20, 40, 60% a year, then everyone in traditional finance is going to ape into it. They're going to jump on it and FOMO in. And so he said he really wants to see something like a hedge fund that allows people to own hex without having to go to the trouble of owning hex. And the other exciting, crazy thing that they've been doing right now are this isn't what I was thinking earlier, but going back to Ryan, if you've got something that is expired, they're working right now on wrapped stakes. which basically means that I'm going to lock up this much money for this much time,
Okay.
but I don't see the private keys. I don't see the passwords. So I can essentially sell that stake, that appreciating asset to another person minus, whatever it's worth. And if that comes true, forget the 1 year stakes, forget the 5 year stakes. Every stake's going to be 5, 5, 5, 5. Every stake's going to be 15.2 years, because why wouldn't you? Because you're not really
Sure.
locked in to that 15.2 years, but someone is, right? And so at that point, you might be able to, sell your stake. If you're like, man, I can't afford the fees, but someone else is like, well, I'm happy to pick that up and hang on to it for a year and see what happens on this other chain, or what happens with the duplicate. Because the other thing is that we're probably going to end up with a lot more than 2 hexes. We're probably going to end up with more than 1 hex on the Ethereum network, because Ethereum 2.0 is going to come out, and they're going to have to fork their own network. So we'll probably have 2 e-hexes there. And then it's possible that people will be forking and copying the Pulse network and giving away coins to get people to participate. So, if you have a 15-year stake, by the time you get to that stake, you could have 5 or 6 copies of that same stake on different chains, on different networks. Just like we have Bitcoin. I mean, we have like 8 or 10 Bitcoin right now. So if you'd bought Bitcoin back in the day and done nothing at all but hold on to your private keys, you would have like 10 different Bitcoin right now that were just given to you every time that it forked. So there's a lot of future value that we don't see yet that might be worth just hanging in there and playing the game. Oh, this is what I was thinking of. Hey, yay, brain cell. So the other thing that I was thinking about, oh no, I think I just lost it by celebrating. No, this is what I was thinking about. I recommend that everybody, the shortest stake that anyone does, even on Pulse Chain at this point, because it's not out yet, is 2 years. If you're not going to lock up your hex for at least 2 years, I tell people just keep it liquid because of the fees right now, right? So 2 years usually gives you enough time, even on the crappy Ethereum network, to come out ahead on fees. So that's another thing I would say going forward, or helping other people get started, is I just don't help people lock stuff for less than 2 years, because I want to make sure that the value is there when they go to unlock it, that the interest and the price appreciation have outpaced the fees.
Would you speak to the fact that, locking them up and burning them and all that, it being deflationary, as opposed to what you just said about all these different versions of hex coming up?
You mean hex being deflationary or Pulse being deflationary?
Hex.
So hex is inflationary. Hex inflates at a rate of 3.69% per year. So every day at 5 o'clock my time, the contract looks at all the stakes and all the interest, and the contract says, okay, in order to continue growing at 3.69% a year, I've got to divvy this number of hex amongst this many shares. And it puts that, it adds that payout to your contract. So it doesn't show up in your MetaMask, but it shows up in your contract. So a lot of us, everyone that I on board, I try to get them into Staker app. I put the Staker app on your phone, and you put the public key, not the private key, on your phone. You're viewing your contracts on your phone every day. So every day at 5 p.m. my time, which is mountain time, I can see my interest added to all of my contracts. And so that's what the code does every single day. It looks at how much it's got to grow, how many people have locked up and have the shares and are eligible to receive that interest, and it pays out every single day to stay on that same rate of 3.69% inflation. So hex will always inflate forever at 3.69% inflation. However, go ahead.
What were they talking about when they burned 25% of them or something to keep it deflationary? Is that Pulse?
That, that's on the Pulse chain.
Okay, sorry.
So no, that's fine. The shares on Hex are harder to get every day though. Every day you need to burn more Hex to get a share every
Right.
single day. And that's part of, keeping things in check. And that's how it simulates compound interest. Now on the Pulse chain, we're going to have about 150 trillion tokens at the very beginning. When it launches, that's how many are going to come into existence. And so that's why it's probably going to be a fraction of a penny. However, they're going to burn or destroy 25% of the fees. So 75% of the fees are paid to the validators that are keeping track of the network and keeping the records straight. And then 25% is burned, destroyed forever. So the Pulse supply is deflationary. It is going to get smaller over time. So, and out of the 75%, this is what we were talking about on our stream with David Feeder yesterday, is different validators. The way that you become a validator and get paid to take care of the network is people vote for you. And they vote for you with their money. So let's say that I have 1 million Pulse tokens, right? That are worth $100 or $200, right? And I can vote for the people that I want to keep the network running. Now, in return for giving them my vote, they're going to share that fee with me. So one of them might say, I'm going to share 50% of all the money I make with the people that vote for me, right? Or 75%, or what they might compete. Some might say, I'm going to give away 100% of my fee for the first year so that they can gain in popularity and credibility and have a proven track record so that, later when they're not going to share all of their fee, they're in good standing and they're well known throughout the community as someone we can rely on, right? And so, like I said, you're going to lock up you'll have the ability to lock up your Pulse if you want to. And there will be like a 24-hour lock or unlock period that you have to wait to stop delegating them as votes to these validators. And so like you can lock it up and then they're going to be doing this kickback of these fees in Pulse to you. And a lot of people are guessing that this will be somewhere around 5 to 10% a year that you can make on your Pulse, not counting the interest that you're making on your Hex, which right now, if you're locking up the average amount, the average time frame, which is 6 years, you're getting about 38% annual percentage yield on your Hex. So you're getting that many more Hex back into your paid back at the end of your contract. But if you go 10 years to 15 years, it's closer to 60%, which is insane.
Also, right now, I think what people need to understand is that, like, say you have 10,000 Hex that you lock up for 2 years, you get 2,000 for doing it, so that makes it 12,000. Plus, it gets duplicated, so that's 24,000. Plus the daily, 6 or 10 or whatever, how many Hex gets added to it every day.
Right. So that's part of the whole idea of not only, getting a clone or a copy of your coins and contracts, but that's part of the longer pays better. That's part of the bonus. So every year that you lock up your Hex, you get a 20% bonus, meaning that they're going to give you 20% more shares for what you're locking up. And that taps out around 10 years. So 10 years of 20% bonuses is 200% bonus. So if I lock up 100 coins on the Ethereum network right now, it's going to pretend that I'm locking up 300 coins. And then when Pulse Chain comes out, they're going to pretend that I locked up 300 coins on Pulse Chain as well. So that it's an amazing opportunity for those that are willing to stomach those fees, right? So yeah, this is good. This is great. Usually it's just me me talking to two people that are just like, good to see you're still alive, Max. So this is really nice to have all this input and these great questions. So thank you very much for adding these questions and participating. I appreciate it very much.
Let me go ahead and ask you the two questions you didn't want anybody to ask.
Ask them.
When do you think Pulse is going to launch, and how much is it going to be worth?
You really got me on the button there, buddy. We I thought that Pulse Chain was going to launch by Halloween. So I am not a good person at gauging timeframes of coders at all. Like I would say I'm really bad at it. I'm praying that it comes out in January.
I think it's going to happen at
February.
Christmas.
There we go. So Sandra's calling it Christmas. I did have a price prediction on the price of the tokens. And I think when they launch, they could be as high as half a penny to a penny per pulse originally, because there saw this pent up, demand for it, because a lot of people found out about Pulse after the pre-sale. And then a lot of people bought the pre-sale, even though it was a really, really bad deal as it went forward. Right. So people were buying, basically paying like 3 or 5 cents per pulse on the late pre-sale that, Richard and everyone said, don't be buying anymore. You're not going to get a good exchange rate. But I based this all off of Ethereum. So Ethereum's had like 2,000 people that participated in its pre-sale or its ICO. And the very first round of VC investors were buying Ethereum for like 3 cents a piece. And then when it launched at $3 a piece and immediately crashed down to 15 cents a piece. Now, if you bought it for 3 cents and it crashes down to 15, you're still doing really good. And it bounced around, $1 or so for a long time. So anyone that bought Ethereum for $1 did amazing in the next 5 to 7 years, right? And so I'm basing this, my guesses on the price prediction on what Ethereum did 7 years ago.
Do you think it will be like everybody can buy all at once, or will people who sacrificed be able to be positioned where they can buy before it hits the open market?
I think they're going to try to have the bridges and the exchanges ready to go around launch. That's part of the pre-sale for the exchange, is because, even let's say, for instance, I don't want to sell my coins, but I'm happy to lock them up on an exchange and let other people trade them and receive fees, right?
Yes.
So someone is going to either provide liquidity or be like, hey, I got these 100 for a penny, and now it's half a penny. So like I 50x'd my money on the pre-sale. Maybe I'll sell at least a portion of these and buy that couch that I promised my wife I'd buy her. You know what I mean? Or whatever their obligations are in the real world.
A vacuum cleaner.
Vacuum cleaner. Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to buy those for your wives.
They're in 650 LT.
So, yeah. Is there anything else? I see Brandon in the chat. Brandon, what are you doing tonight?
Just listening to you and just enjoying the talk about Pulse.
Yeah.
I guess I never get a chance to make it to these things, and so I was like, hey, it should still be going. Checking my email, so I thought I'd join in and listen. Always good content.
Thanks for coming.
I enjoy
Good
these.
to have you. Good to have you. Do you have any questions? Did you watch both David Feeder's stream, David Feeder's 10-minute tutorial, and our stream yesterday where we were doing the tech talk? Did you watch both of those? And did you have any questions that weren't answered in those?
So I didn't see his 10-minute one. Where was that?
It's on his channel on YouTube under David Feeder. I have a link to it in the chat right now. I have the YouTube link to that 10-minute tutorial.
I watched both the other ones though, and I pretty much absorb everything from crypto.
I'm gonna
and the other ones.
I'm going to
So-
ask you the same question that my friend Matt smacked me in the face with, which is,
Well, oh, I
when
got
do you
it.
think Pulse Chain's coming out, and what do you think the price is going to be?
Right. Well, so I was going to actually comment on that. When you said, when's it coming out? And I said, well, when a monkey crawls over, I mean, there's really no guess on that. I mean, it's anytime. I was hoping, like you said, Halloween. In fact, I was hoping December, because of some of the things happening and moving with, but testnet version 2 is a huge thing because he doesn't want to make a third one. He said, we want to do 2 and be done. And so if those all go through, as well as he said, pulse swap is going to happen by the end. The sacrifice phase is going to start by the end of the year. And based on that he also said somewhere within 2 to 3 weeks after that, or after the sacrifice is finished, we should have PulseNet, which is where I think you got your January. My guess would be January as well. Hopefully no later than Groundhog's Day in February. As we keep doing this repeat of 4 more weeks or whatever you want to call it these days. And so yeah, January, February is what I'd hope for. I've got most of my stakes are staked out long, and so I'm not really super stressed about those. I love the duplication of it. Price, I have no idea. I have heard probably 50 people give a guess on price. I would hope for a penny, be fantastic. I think if you say when it opens, I kind of go off what you said. I think with that pre-sale of Ethereum, I think you're looking at up to that half a penny, maybe a penny. But it could come crashing back down to 0006 or something as well in the front, just because that. But there's so many people that don't want to sell it, and having 90 or whatever the percentage is that Richard owns or the OA owns, I don't see that going anywhere. So there will be a strict band over it, or a bottleneck that people are gonna have to get through, that who's willing to sell it. So based on that and everyone else I've heard about it, I think it'll increase quickly. So even if it starts low and all you're gonna do is hold it for 5 years or 2 years, you're always gonna be happy. In fact, I plan on DCAing in more money probably the first 2 months, hoping for that dip, hoping that it starts higher and people are like, yeah, I'm gonna go make a bunch of money, so it gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and I can just go throw in 5 grand or more is my goal. Just start loading up on it.
What does DCA mean?
Dollar cost average. So you just buy a little bit every day, and it's kind of like when you, like back in the days, talk about buying silver or any other asset. If you buy $50 a day of it, over the long period, you're actually going to get a better price than if you try to time the bottoms. No one times the bottoms perfectly. You can hope to, and you could get a good day on it. But typically, and especially with the pulse fees are going to be so cheap, it'll be so beautiful. If Dharma will allow us to buy it directly, which I'm hoping it will. I mean, it probably won't for a few months, which is going to ruin my timing anyways. But I'll probably throw it in USDC and do it through Pulse Swap. But anyway, so I'll probably buy about $100 to $300 a day for a full month is what I'm planning on doing. Just because I feel like that'll get me the best price. So even if I miss some of the bottoms, or I'm sorry, I hit some of the tops, I'll hopefully hit some of the bottoms, and it'll even out and give me a better price overall to add it to what I already have. Because I was I did some of the sacrifice phase as well. But yeah, it's pretty much my thoughts on all that.
Well, and going back to the sacrifice phase, I think that the spike in price in Hex will be smaller for Pulse Swap or
I
the
agree.
swap token, because a lot of people, myself included, threw a lot of dry powder at the Pulse sacrifice. So we don't have a lot left over while we're waiting for all this stuff to happen to throw into the Pulse Swap. So I mean,
I'm not as excited about the Pulse Swap. Like, I am excited, it's cool to have, but I think the Pulse chain has a much higher probability of going higher and longer. Not that you're not going to enjoy the gains of the other one, but kind of like you look at Sushi Swap or Uniswap. I mean, it started out, I remember when the first airdrop came out, it was like $3 or $4. And it was cool when it hit 7, and then it dropped back down to like 2. And now, I mean, the highest day was like 48. So if you go from $3 to $48, you're looking at a 40, not a 40x. What is that? 3 times
it's like 12 or 13.
12 or 13x.
somewhere around
That's
there.
cool and all, but it took you a year to get a 12x or 13x, where I think if you're to hold the same money in Pulse, you go ahead and hold it for a year and you'll probably get a 50x in the first year or two. I mean, but that's just me. So I'm more excited about it. I'm going to definitely get some Pulse Swap token or whatever it's called, because I know I'm going to use it for cheaper fees, and I'll probably do a little bit, but it just won't be nearly as much as I did on Pulse or Hex.
I hear there's
Awesome.
going to be a liquid loan token swap sacrifice too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll see how that goes.
I think that the liquid loan people are hoping to launch a month or two after Pulse launches. But then again, you know, I'm really excited about the stuff that Liquid Loans is talking about. But I would be much more excited if Richard Hart and his team gave it their blessing and had to comb through it. Because I
Yeah.
mean, don't get me wrong, it's exciting to jump in and sacrifice for it. But at the same time, if you miss the sacrifice phase for Liquid Loans and it pulls off what it says it's going to, you can still show up late to the dance and still make a bunch of money off of Liquid Loans, knowing that it's working. You know what I
I
mean?
thought it had his blessing.
Can you say that again?
I thought Liquid Loans had Richard's blessing.
No, not yet. He said that they said that they want to, they're still hoping to get to a point where they can get his blessing.
He said that he thinks it's a cool idea, but he hasn't said he's not backing or saying it's great. He's just saying, oh, it's a cool idea.
Yeah, and being one of the morons that lost a lot of hex in hex business back in the day, you know, I'm a little more weary, a little less likely to jump in to new stuff until it's come up to the standards that we've seen in hex and, you know, hopefully pulse chain, right? You know, so that's kind of where I'm more of an old lady when it comes to the sacrifice and the pre-sales of things that are not directly founded by Richard Hart. But you know, it could be a great opportunity.
That's a good point.
So awesome.
Did you ever hear Richard say that? How did he say it? That hex is like a novel and pulse is the keyboard.
Yeah, like a typewriter. Because yeah, one is a network and one is a product, right? So we're moving the product from one network to another network, but that network can be used for so many things. I mean, more than hex can. So a lot of people are very, very excited about Pulse for that reason, because it is like this living, breathing ecosystem that you know, could do some cool stuff. So
NFTs and everything.
yeah. All right. Well, we've got an hour and 20 minutes, which is longer than I almost ever go. And it's because I've had such an amazing audience tonight. Thank you so much for being here, spending your time with me. Like I said, write down your seed words, write down your passwords on something as stable and secure as you can. Etch them into stone or metal if you can. Keep them in safe places. Don't lose your information. And we will, like I said, I'm going to upload this to YouTube tonight, hopefully, and so you guys can see it tomorrow. Watch the replay, and then other people will see it, and we'll hopefully just keep spreading the message and getting this information out to as many people that want it as possible. So
thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks.
One thing. Oh, sorry. I was going to say Jenkins went live if people want to go watch Jenkins.
Oh,
he went live on some stuff. So
there you go.
Well worth going and watching. He's always great.
Yeah, Jenkins is really good at charts and price prediction, and he's deep in the community. So
he's on YouTube. How do I find him?
On YouTube, if you look up, I think if you search Jenkins and hex, I can probably find his thing right here. Let me look. Jenkins.
Yeah.
No, that's not on YouTube anymore. Let me look at it on YouTube. Sorry.
Hey, real quick, can you throw out an easy tutorial for setting up testnet on Metamask? That's what we're going to do this evening, and find the faucet, kick some pulse around, have some fun.
That link right now is in the chat, our chat right now.
Right on.
And so I'm going to go here to Jenkins. There we go. Okay, so this is Jenkins' YouTube channel right here. I'm putting in chat. It's the second link. So
thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah. So this is Jake,
Yeah.
but I just looked up Jenkins and Hex, and his channel was the first one to show up in YouTube. But there is a link right there to his channel. The top one, the shorter one, is David Feeder's tutorial of how to set up and play around on the testnet. And then the second one is Jenkins' YouTube channel. So yeah, jump on that. And thanks for the shout out, Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Hexray Vision, on YouTube, Hexray Vision, and hopefully I'll see you guys next week. And we'll just keep building and building. How's that
Like and
sound?
subscribe. Thanks, buddy. Have a
You
good
bet,
night.
guys. All
Thank
right,
you
I'll
very
see you
much.
guys later. Thanks again
See
for
ya.
coming tonight, everybody.